Hi, I'm Ben Richardson, and you're listening to the Karate Podcast, where we talk about karate, the competitive sport of kumite, and the warrior's journey. Brought to you in association with Kumite Coach, the world's first progressive online high-definition coaching platform, created by coaches and fighters for coaches, fighters, and students of karate. Join kumitecoach.com today and take your karate to the next level. Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of the Karate Podcast. I'm really excited today to have with me Luke Cuthbert. Luke's a third dan in karate. He's won numerous titles in his career, including World Cups in both kata and kumite at the junior level. In 2017, he won the UWK World Championships at minus 75 kilos in kumite. Then in 2018, he won the WUKF European Championships at open weight, which is a huge achievement. 2019, he was part of the Karate England team that won both the WUKF World Championships and the IKU World Championships. Luke's also turned professional in full contact karate, winning his debut match in Poland in the WUKF 1 Gala. Luke's fantastic to have you today. Thanks so much for your time. Welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate having me on, Ben, and I've been listening to a few of the others, and it's nice to be invited. So thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Great to have you here. So, Luke, as always, we're going to take it back to the beginning, just so people can get an idea of where your story starts. And I know that your dad was obviously, or still is, a karateka. So, take us there and lead us into your journey.
I'm 31 now. And we've got a little bit of a running joke with my dad that my date of birth and date of starting karate are the same days. I kind of came out of the womb punching and kicking. And my earliest memories in the dojo would be coming along to karate with my dad in, I guess, a mini ninja class, which we started at 3 years old. But I'm sure I was in there a little bit younger at 1 and 2, tottering around and with my older brother Dan. And I don't really know my life without karate, really. So, yeah, it's been a lifetime endeavour, and no doubt it will continue to be for the remainder. So, yeah, I guess I'm 31 now, been most of my life involved with it.
Fantastic. So a family business. The club that your dad ran in your young years, and I don't know, maybe it's still the same now. Is that a traditional club, or is it a club focused on sport?
So our club, UKA, I think it's been running over 40 years now. United Karate Association. We do traditional and also sport karate, and that formed part of the strong sort of Shikon squad through the 90s and 2000s that produced a lot of good competitors. Yeah. My dad was obviously part of the coaching team with some other instructors, and we do traditional karate for sure, but we do have that sport element as well. And I think we have a nice balance of trying to train for self-defense, traditional martial arts, but also for the sport element as well. So we always move in with the times, and I think we'd have a good balance of both.
Fantastic. And as a young karateka, were you exposed to competition at an early age, or is that something that came later on in your practicing?
Yeah, I probably was, to be fair. I think I was always going along to the competitions, and I've got some early memories of being in, I guess, like a Q grade competition as a yellow belt. And let's say I don't think my attitude was always the best as a youngster. I don't think I handled the losing too well. My brother Dan would be the first one to tell you I was a bit of a sore loser. And they got plenty of stories about me not handling the losing too well. And I remember, I think, to be fair, kata actually, I think I enjoyed the kata early on. I was a bit fearful of the fighting as a youngster.
Yeah.
And then after I started getting into it when I was a bit older, I started going, do you know what? I don't mind the fighting, and the kata took a little bit more of a backseat for me. Sure. But yeah, I've got early memories of competing in class at our camps and inter clubs. And to be fair, we got a really good club where some of my colleagues we've grown up with, competing against them, like my friends Jason and Michael. And funny enough, they're all still teaching with us now. So we've been doing it, competing against each other, and now we're all teaching together as a club as well. So yeah, definitely competition from early age. And I would say I was always the best loser, but hopefully I've got better now. And that's something I try to impress my students. It's not about the winning and losing; it's the good attitude and how you carry yourself. And I'm big on that with my students, trying to coach them and try and help them to be better than me.
Fantastic. So growing up in that environment, was it in order to sort of progress to the level you have in your own career as a competitor? Did you have a large group of people around you within your club that helped you do that, or did you have to look outside of the club to help your development?
I think I'm really, really blessed. Obviously, my dad doing it for such a long time, and he was one of the sort of earlier instructors in the 70s and 80s to go full time and do it professionally. He's always had a good tradition of sort of producing people. So growing up, I was born in 1990, so through the 90s, my sort of hero, my idol looking up to was Tricia Duggan, who my dad had trained from a young age. And at the time, that was when she was winning world championships, and just she was phenomenal. She'd win some fights before she went out there. So looking up to her, she was a big inspiration and a big motivator. And then having an older brother who was not bad himself. My brother Dan's been an IKU world and European champion as well. Getting that influence, always looking up to them, and being the younger brother, wanting to try and keep up with them as you would and be competitive. I was lucky to have them to look up to. But those two, I'd say, were the biggest influences on me, along with my dad, that I looked up to within our club.
Yeah.
Those are just two people that would stand out for me as being the biggest inspirers. But we had so many people at our club that were good. We were very fortunate. We still have a really quite a big club and a good group of people to train with. I think that was the biggest thing, because we have different instructors from within our club who brought their best students together. We had a real melting pot where all our classes were so competitive. I have lines and lines of black belts, and it's still like that now, where you get that melting pot of people coming from different areas, and it just helps breed that success. So I wouldn't say I've done a load of winning growing up. I've definitely got plenty of losing. We had one of my training partners, Jenna Shilston, who was phenomenal competitor at the youth level, and she was kata and kumite national champion all the way through. She's a little bit older than me, but she was my training partner. Yeah, and she had a great work ethic, and she'd beat me up, and I'd lose to her pretty much every week, which was always humbling for me. But yeah, my teammates as well, Michael and Jason, that I trained along with growing up, and yeah, we had a really good club. So lots of people within our club to choose from. But in terms of outside the club, you know, my dad would take me to championships, and we would go abroad and watch people like Christoph Pinner, and later on Aggie Ev and stuff. And those are people that maybe from outside my club that I'd looked up to. But for inside the club, Trish and my big brother Dan, for sure.
Brilliant. And how did your goals change over time? Did you always have the same outlook as a competitor, or was it like, I want to get to this level and then I'll shift my goals when I've reached that space?
I think as a youngster, my goals were kind of, really, if you ask a lot of my family and stuff, is football was kind of my main goal growing up. Football was something, I was more focused on that, and I was like, I can make karate, I'd go to my tournaments, and I was always around it, but my more goal orientated with karate didn't really shift until I was an adult, probably. And because I stopped competing at the age of 16 to focus on my football, as I was playing to a decent level, and I did my apprenticeship, and then I went to America on a scholarship to play football over there for 4 years. So my competitive karate career had a little bit of a halt between the age of 16 and probably 22. I was still training, obviously playing football, and I would train and practice my karate abroad, and I even done a bit of teaching to some of the professor student self-defense courses at uni. But in terms of competition, I didn't really have many goals with karate from the age of 16 to 22. And then I come back to England, and my dad was like, come down training again. All right, okay. Just being around them again was lovely after being away for so long. And he said, why don't you come and do a competition? I was like, oh, okay. Well, I just come really initially more to sort of come, and I did all right. One of those things that, because you've done it when you're so young, it's a bit like riding your bike. And I thought, oh, here we go. I'm not bad at this. Because I've done it so much as a youngster, I was like, here we go. So then I started thinking about it seriously as a career. And then it started becoming a little bit more serious. And that was about the time when my brother was winning. And looking up to him, drawing inspiration, I thought, here we go. Okay, if I can have a run and make something of myself, I can maybe turn this into a career. So that was when my goals started shifting of, right, okay, you want to do something here, you want to win at a world and European level, I've got to put the work in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you came back to karate because, you know, I know myself as a coach and a lot of other dojos struggle, you know, to hold on to their teenagers because they've got other sports or because of social lives. So you know, playing football to a high level, get this amazing opportunity to go over to the States. Was there a point as you went over to the States you thought, right, this is it now for me and karate's in the past, or was karate just so in you that you couldn't imagine life without it?
You know what it was? I think it was just in me that even out there, the lads that was on the team with me, once they sort of found out a little bit that I'd done a bit of training, some of them had done boxing or MMA or a bit of this and that. We're coming at pads. So even with my team in America, there was once a week I had a lad, we'd hold pads and we'd hit pads for each other. And
nice.
Yeah, I kind of never really stopped training, but my focus wasn't necessarily on competing. It was just on, I like training, I like hitting pads, I like hitting the punch bag, and it was just part of my life that I would always train. And then it's funny how things work out. I'd finished my 4 years at university, and Classic had a serious knee injury playing for my university after my 4 years.
Right.
And I'm going to carry on playing football in the States, had a knee injury, and that kind of shifted my focus.
Yeah.
About, okay, maybe I'm not going to play football. And then I started thinking about coming home. And it was also about coming back, changing mindsets. And I did play football when I come back to England, but I was thinking, do you know what? Playing with like a knee brace on, non-league kind of level, trying to work my way back up after the injury. And I started thinking, I've got people coming after me. I've got to watch out for my career, where I was going down to karate and I've only got to focus on one guy in front of me. I've got people trying to slide tackle me from behind. And I started thinking, you know what? Okay, maybe I can get on with karate and sort of look after my knee, because I didn't want to go back and get injured again and go through that. But yeah, it was definitely a shift in the mindset after having the knee injury, and that's what kind of brought me back into coming back and training again and getting on the karate.
Yeah, fantastic. So was that when you came back? Was that around what, 2010 or something like that, or was that?
Yeah, I graduated from university 2013, so I would have moved home. Moved home later that year, and then started on the road to sort of figuring out the career. And I was looking at some different coaching opportunities, and then obviously coming back home, being around my dad and my brother again, it was felt like the right thing to do, get back involved with karate, and I just loved it. And I think I fell in love with it as an adult, because growing up, it was something I did with your dad. And there were sometimes I wanted to be there, and there was other times my mum, bless her, had to drag me, and I'm grateful that she did sometimes. Yeah. Got to go karate. Okay, all right, great. And because I think maybe you take it for granted when you're around it all the time. Yeah. And then coming back as an adult and having a break from it, I really appreciated it, and I was really grateful that my parents, especially my mum, made me go to class when I didn't want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I try and teach that to my parents now, that the kids are going to have times maybe when they don't want to go, and I'm grateful that they did push me to go. I kind of fell in love with it as an adult, and now I'm training all the time, and really been enjoying it.
Fantastic. And it's something I struggled with as a kid, it was my mum as well, dragging me to, you'll enjoy it once you've been, and she was right. But you do see so many kids these days dropping out, relatively quickly, and they don't have that parent who's like just pushing them on to, make the most of that opportunity.
And the mums are the unsung hero a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what.
And a lot of the time, obviously, I know you've had other people on here that have had dads train them and stuff, and because I know obviously you've had Jordan Thomas on here, and he's got his dad that's trained him and stuff, and he mentioned his mum and his stepmom and stuff as well. And that's the thing, without the mums taking you to class and feeding you and stuff and getting you there, the dads a lot of the time want to take the credit, and I know my dad would. So I'd always say hats off, thanks for the training, Dad, but if my mum had not bought me, I wouldn't be here where I am today. So I'm always grateful for my mum, and I try and say that to my students and the parents, that it's a team effort as a family to try and get them there, whether these students go on to achieve in competitions or whether they just try and build that confidence. or get fitter, whatever people, not everybody's goal is to come in is to be a champion. But whatever it is, even for families, just to come in to get fitter, get more confident, meet people, whatever their goals are, it's like it takes that team. It's the student, it's both the parents if they're there, you know, and the instructor trying to work together to get the kids there. So I'm always coaching, not just the kids, but the parents that I work with. And I'm always reminded, listen, say thanks to your mum, be grateful to your mum, whoever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bringing you, but say thanks to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you tell us about any of major events that have happened in your career or experiences you had either in training or competition that perhaps changed or influenced the way you were approaching your training or the style of fighting you had?
I would probably say for myself and my older brother Dan, a big moment was probably going to Munich. I think it was 2000 or 2001 to watch the World Championships. Yeah. And we see Christoph Pinner live in his heyday versus Benatello, and their fight was just unbelievable. And I was like looking at my dad and my brother. I was like, wow, this is karate. I was like, this is amazing. And just watching what they could do, punch, kick, sweep. And to be fair, the event was packed, and it was like, you know, in sort of, I guess towards the end of big sort of heyday with karate, I guess before the influx of MMA and stuff as well, that the event was huge. And it was so cool to go and be a part of. And watching Christoph, I was just blown away. And then I think that sort of inspired my dad as well to think, right, okay, we've got to try and learn from this guy. And we ended up going on one of his first seminars in 2003, 2004 in Senegalia in Italy, get to train with him. Awesome. And it was fortunately, I think because me and my brother were okay, he would pick my brother out for demonstrations and he got to train with my brother. I was always like a bit smaller, trying to keep up. Yeah. But pick my brother out to train with him, and I think just getting that time up close and personal with one in my eyes, one of the best ever. I think he's a bit like the Zidane of karate, Christoph. Yeah. And that was a big shift in kind of our training methods. And I mean, my dad would watch his session and take notes and integrate a lot of his training style and methods into our training. And we still do it now. I mean, we've had him over for multiple seminars, and even since I've got to spend time training with him and move around with him. And I think you can't beat that. Getting to move around with one of the best people ever, that just inspires you. And also I think you get that sort of that rub off where you're around them and you see how they do things and just how hard they train, and you just think, well, I've got to step it up. So for us as teenagers, that was a big eye opener, being around Christoph for sure.
Amazing. And were you in the 10K clash the same time as him?
No, I wasn't. Obviously, he came in. This is obviously.
I couldn't remember. I was just thinking when you mentioned it. You're both in the 10K clash.
If I'm honest, I'm glad he wasn't in when I was doing it. Because I didn't care who I fought at the 10K. I wouldn't want to fight Christoph. Just because I think it's that in your head where you look up to him. Yeah. He's obviously coming at it a little bit older, sort of past his prime. But I mean, even then, I don't know.
It's amazing. I think he was around. Yeah, I think he was 50 when he fought in that. I think, you know.
I don't know many 50-year-olds that can move like that.
No, it's incredible. So yeah, it's a great person to look up to, and
sure.
That impacted your career that way. It's awesome. As a fighter yourself, I want to get into the different events you've been involved in, but fight day or building up to a fight, do you experience a certain set of emotions, and how do you deal with them? Do you find those emotions empowering, or do you feel that they're always challenging?
I think as I got older and having a lot of experience playing football as well, and having match day preparations and that practice to perform feeling, I kind of got used to that feeling of getting ready, going playing in front of crowds and handling those match day nerves. And I always found that I was probably less nervous at karate than I was at football.
Right.
But when I come to karate, because it was one of those things that we'd always been around, I was less kind of nervous than I was for football. And coming into it, I could always have that mindset that I didn't put too much pressure onto it, because I thought, that's right, it's only karate, it'd be okay. Even if it doesn't go too bad, I'm away, with my dad and my brother, we'll have a bit of fun. And my older brother's got a great sort of relaxed mentality, and he's always a calming influence to be around. So if you ever felt me being a little bit hit up, where we just like, can't, you know, he'd always have a nice way of relaxing me, and keeping me calm. And I think it's just that being around it your whole life, you don't always have to overhype it sometimes. And at the end of the day, it's only a competition. If you don't win, it's not necessarily going to define your life, and there's always next time. Do you know what I mean? And I think having that experience from the football of preparation, warm up, match day, I just know when it comes to sort of tournaments, I know I just needed a routine. So I kind of just took the routine that I had for my football matches, and it took me a while to sort of tweak that over to karate, and we took a little bit of time to get there, of terms of sometimes I was being a bit too up for it, other times I was being a bit too relaxed. And once we found that nice middle ground, I just kind of stuck to my routine of what I like to do in the build up to it, get there. And I always had this thing that if I put the work in training, and I knew that I left no stone unturned with my preparation, whether I ate right, slept right, get all the training in, when it comes to the day, if you win on the day, you know that it's not going to be down, or you win or lose on the day, it's not going to be down to lack of preparation. It just might just be down to maybe that person's better than you on the day, maybe get the decisions, maybe you made a wrong decision. And there's a little bit of certain sort of clarity and peace that you can have after that.
Yeah.
If you've gone and you're not prepared right, you think, woulda, coulda, shoulda after the fight. Whereas if you've gone there and it might just be down to split decision where you've made the wrong choice, or you maybe didn't get the refereeing decision in a close exchange, then you can come off and again, you're always going to go away and work away from things, but there's a little bit of peace that you can come away with, and clarity. That's what I try and say to my students, that if you put the work in, you can come away after that tournament and look at it as, okay, it was just that day. In that day, in that one fight, that you can then go away and work on. Yeah,
that's great. And you know, I, as a competitor, I always thought when you stood on that line, you know, you knew the truth in that moment of what work you'd done and what you'd sort of skipped on. And like you said, there's a massive level of confidence difference between knowing you'd done the work and knowing you'd kind of blagged it a bit, you know, in the training sessions leading up.
Sure.
And I think, you know, the advice I'm constantly giving younger athletes is, like you said, you've got to do the work before that competition, so that when you stand on the line, there's no doubt there in terms of what you can control. You know, you've done all the work, you're controlling all the elements you can in your own training. Things may not go the way you want them to on the day, but you know, you're taking control of the things that you can to influence the outcome as best you can.
What about you, Ben? You got a routine that you have when you'd compete?
What's
your, give us a bit of insight to your routine.
To my great routine. So I started off with a kind of angry routine, which you know, so listening to like angrier music, getting all tough. Found that was terrible for me completely. And eventually found that when I went onto the mat feeling happy, feeling kind of you know, in a lighter mood set, so I listened to that sort of music, and I'd always have 3 goals that I'd write on a piece of paper, and I'd just look at that paper a few times, you know, before I was called to the area. And if I'd done that, you know, I'd usually have an okay day. So that was my
I like that. It's always nice to see different things. I think you can take, everyone does it different, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And you know, I know some people, they can just walk out the change room onto the mat, not a care in the world, and then just bosh it. But I think it's important to find out what works for you.
I've got a mate, James, who he was on, James Ede, who's part of our team when we won some of the world championships, and he's kind of the opposite to me, so nonchalant, so relaxed. And it was, I quite like to have my same warm-up routine. I do the same warm-up, same stretch, and I like to hit the pads in a certain way. My brother, I have the same routine that I do. And he's there and he's relaxed, doing a couple stretches here and there. He goes out and he's fantastic. And it's just that everyone's different. Everyone's going to do it slightly different. And that's the unique thing about karate and about fighting, that is that sort of unique aspect that everyone's going to do it slightly different.
Yeah. So when you're on the mat, do you have a mindset? Do you strategize as you're fighting, or is everything kind of automated in the way you approach it?
I think the strategy comes in a bit more for open weight and for team, for sure. When you've got team events, particularly the team rotation, I'm not sure if you've seen it as well. Obviously, like the tag team events where the coaches shout change. That's really exciting, and you get the different changes in who's fighting during the bout. That's pretty good. And obviously in the open weight, when you're dealing with people different height, different sizes, and me as a sort of under 75, middleweight, 5'9", some taller fellas, my tactics are going to be different than they would when I'm fighting in my weight category. And we do game plan, we do strategize, but I think it's also good to go out there with that kind of like mushy and empty mind, free spirit, where good to have certain game plans and mindsets, but you've got to be flexible and able to adjust when you're out there. And that's when we work as a team with my dad and my brother, and obviously work on some certain strategies in training that if this situation does come up, this is what we're going to do. And then you kind of just trust your training on the mat, don't you, to just sort of feel the moment when it happens. You can't be in your head too much.
Yeah, and I'm interested how as a fighter, you've won lots of things, but I'm sure you've lost just as many. So how do you deal with that loss, and how would you educate and coach your students around losing?
Remember the losing feeling. I try and say to when you lose, remember what that feeling is like. I think you can hear it from there's a lot of great winners out there from different sports and stuff, and they'll say, remember that losing feeling. And when you're coming off, lock that in and have that losing feeling ready for when you're at training. Use it as fuel. And I think it's a loss can be a great motivator. And it's like sometimes if you've got young students doing a lot of winning early on, it can kind of burn them out and set them up for complacency. So sometimes a silver or bronze or a loss in a round is going to serve as a good motivator to get people training, and it's kind of fuel for that fight. I mean, it was for me anyway. If I lost, I was thinking, right, okay, I'm going to go back at it. I'm going to up it next time. I'm going to do more. And that was always a way that I kind of dealt with the losses, turn it into fuel for training. And that's kind of what I say to my lot. If you lost, work harder, train harder, practice, beat them next time. If you won, you better work hard because they're after you.
Excellent. So we're going to get into your career as a fighter. What have been, I mean, you've got, quite the highlight reel there. So what are the things that stand out for you right now in your competitive career that you look back and say?
As a senior, as an adult?
Yeah, I guess, unless, the junior years have an equal weighing for you.
I can tell you funny stories as a junior. This one I make with my dad laugh, I suppose. So my first international trip was to America, to the Big Apple Challenge, and I was only a brown, but I wasn't really expected to even get a medal.
Yeah.
And win and stuff. And I went and got a bronze in my kata. I was really chuffed with. And then I went out and I was one of the smaller ones in the fighting. We had these big American lads, Canadian lads, and my dad was coaching me. Go out, son, the right stance, go do this. And I completely ignored him, done the opposite, and I won. And I managed to win. And even he was obviously happy for me, and he won. But it was always that thing where he even wrote in the newspaper article on his first time out, Luke Cuthbert won, despite not listening to his coach. So had a little bit of a rebellious side to me as a youngster. I do like to remind my dad of that one. So I said, I didn't listen to my dad and I managed to do it. So that was a funny one. But I did learn that obviously as the level increases, you've got to listen to your coach.
Yes.
And as a senior, I probably had a bit of a cheat code. Had back of winning like world and European championships. He had to retire because he had a detached retina. He took a heavy hit in a final in Portugal, and but can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think I just lost you as you started to talk about detached retina. I've lost you again. Come on.
So now,
Next up, I'm just going to speed test my internet. It says it's working. Can you hear me, Luke? Oh, just a short. It's always worse in the day. That's brilliant.
hello.
Hi, welcome back.
Back in.
Nice.
Momentary internet disruption. Where were we?
So I think you broke out. We just finished talking about your Big Apple experience and doing the opposite of what your dad told you.
That was fun.
And then I think you just started to talk about your senior experiences.
Yeah, I think coming into fighting as a senior, I was quite keen to do well and sort of not just be known as Ian's other son who played football, or Dan's brother. He was good at football, that one, but didn't win anything for karate. So I think I had a little bit of that sort of younger sibling competitiveness still in me, where I wanted to go and do well and kind of make a name in my own right with it. So coming into it, I was getting back into it, winning a few bouts and not really getting in the medals. And then over time started trying to get into the medals at a national event. And then I managed to win one. And it sort of coincided with the same time where my brother retired. So he was coming off from being a fighter to now switching his mindset as a coach. He had a detached retina. So the doctors advised him not to fight again.
Right.
And he'd just come off the back of winning sort of world and European championships. So it was like a new sort of motivator. It was him as a coach stepping in as that new role in my corner. and then me really being motivated to try and win something. So we was on a bit of a mission together, which was really fun after spending so long away from each other.
Yeah.
And after I think I won like a sort of national level tournament over here. My dad was like, look, maybe, okay, you keep doing well, we'll look at getting you apply for some sort of funding with Karate England. So we're lucky, we've got a nice setup with our club and with Karate England where there is funding available for people who do well, or maybe can't afford to go away. So like we've got some youngsters come through that if they do well at a national level and we think they get medals, there's funding available for them. So after I started winning a few, I was like, okay, I could get a sort of trip to go away with the team. So I started going away with the Karate England team, and I think initially I was just like an extra man on the team. Like I think I was fighting just in the team only, and I got to fight one time with my brother at a European Championship in the team, and we was in Portugal. We made it to the final, and we lost. It was a close 5-man team. We went out first guy. I think we had lost one, we'd lost two, and then I think Michael and Jason pegged it back, and they both won. So it was 2-2. My brother was the 5th one out, and it was against this guy Nuno from Portugal. I think he's been a multiple sort of world champion in a few different bodies. I think he may have won some stuff at WKF and WKF, and he's brilliant. I've got a lot of admiration. And I was so confident my brother was going to beat him. And to be fair, it was a close sort of match. The score didn't necessarily reflect it, but my brother's a middleweight and Nuno's like a big guy, 6'2", heavyweight. And he ended up beating my brother. And I think that's when he took one of his sort of heavier hits in the eye. Right. And I think after that, that's when his eyesight started to deteriorate through that summer. So we got to fight in the team one time together at a big event, and then he went straight into being right. He's injured. He can't fight anymore. He's just going to coach because the doctor said if you carry on fighting, you could lose your eyesight, which obviously it was a sort of a shift in the mindset from him to be a fighter to coaching me. And that was when we was kind of on a mission to be like, right, I want to try and do something. So to have his influence in my corner, I started going away, and I think I managed to get a bronze at my first European event. And then I was getting close, going away, getting silvers and bronzes, and just had to sort of persevere. And I think it culminated with for a while, it didn't feel like it was going to happen. I thought I'm just going to be the nearly man.
Yeah.
And then we had a big championship called the UWK, which was incorporating WKF World Championships. I think there was a Kashinkai full contact knockdown, and there was it might have been a Kabudo. So there was lots of different championships that had come together, and it was quite a difficult event because I think I know in England anyway, you had to qualify. So there was a bunch of qualifiers in the country that you had to be in the top 2 or 3 to just go.
Right.
And I managed to get in the rankings to go, and we had some really good competitors in my category. And I think there was a really good guy that I had some good fights with, Luke Howard, a Welsh guy that I'd kept losing to previously, and I managed to beat him, I think, in the semi-finals, which was a nice hurdle after losing to him so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I managed to beat him on the big day, and Luke's a good competitor and been, multiple champion before at different levels, and to get past him on the semi-final and then go on to the final to win, that was a nice sort of first step to winning a first title. And after that, I think my confidence grew and managed to have a good run after that.
And how is your understanding of what it takes to be an elite fighter changed over the last few years, would you say?
I think after going abroad the first few times and seeing the level of some of these other athletes where they're like fully funded and they're doing it professionally and they're getting paid in their countries and stuff, and think, okay, they're training full time. I mean, I was already training full time, 5-6 days a week. I was like, okay, I've got to start really putting everything into it. So it was like, okay, adding in things like yoga, getting my recovery in, working on the diet, and just really living it and breathing it and putting it, putting my everything into it to be professional with it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the step up that I needed personally. I know everyone does it different. You've got some people who could probably turn up, be relaxed. Like we said, my mate, we could have, be having a few beers the week before and then go out and do an amazing job. But for me, it was having to put everything into it to get every 1% out of myself, because I'd had that big break where I wasn't competing. So in a sense, I felt like I was playing catch up to some of these competitors. So I just put everything into it. It'd be every day, sometimes twice a day, and trying to just come up with the best plan to get the best out of my skills.
And are you, I presume, you're augmenting your martial arts training with conditioning and fitness training around that?
Yeah, so I would get in and do yoga every week. I still try and get to yoga when I can with our instructor Mel. She's lovely. She teaches a lot of our instructors, and she was one of our karate parents for a long time. She's had all of her kids done karate with us, and a couple of them got up to black belts. So we've known her for a long time. But we'd get in with Mel and do some yoga towards the end of the week as like recovery in my training, and then I'd also get in with my trainer Joe Stoker and do my strength and conditioning and work with my dad and brother of what stuff do we really need to do in the gym that's sport specific, and built up a great relationship with Joe. And he'd always get me in sort of fighting fit, and we'd always look at an event and we'd do like a 3-month camp before that, and we'd try and train up for that event. So I'd be peaking when we needed it to be. So yeah, we'd have a good balance of strength and conditioning, yoga, Tai Chi with my dad, stretching, recovery. And luckily enough, I had a supportive partner at home who didn't mind cooking me a good diet and healthy dinner. So I was lucky I had a good team around me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So basically competing with full-time athletes, but in yourself acting like a full-time athlete in the best way possible to give you that, like you said, that every percent you can get.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's not always the training that's the hard bit. It's not always the training that's the hard bit. It's the being disciplined, not having the beer at the weekend here, or not eating too much
That's the truth.
at the weekend. That is always the hardest bit.
That's the truth.
How are you with your diet? Are you pretty strict? Or
my wife's a nutritional therapist. So.
Oh, so you're strict then.
So I've got a pretty good diet, I have to say. But I, like everyone, I'm here to enjoy life, and now and again I'll indulge. So one of the things I'm really interested in is your desire to get into full contact karate. How did that come about, and what were the motivators for that?
Well, I think the sort of style of karate we're doing already was always sort of geared primarily as a karate club. It's for self-defense, it's for real fighting. And there was a few other full contact leagues. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen the Karate Combat that's come about. I think personally that's been one of the best things to happen to karate in a long time. And it was around that kind of time it had come out. And WKF, one of the bodies that we compete with, they started doing their own sort of full contact league. And I was like, right, I've got to be a part of that, because one of the biggest frustrators, I think, for an adult senior competitor is you go and you hit someone at competition and you get a 10, you get a warning. Hold on, okay, we're doing a combat sport here. This is for fighting, and to have that full contact opportunity, I think was brilliant. I know there's been lots of different variations through the years, but to have something come in that would be sort of a bit more modern, and I could I have an opportunity to get paid for doing it as well. So for me, that was a no-brainer, and I really wanted to be a part of it. And we went away to Poland, trained up for it, and we got to fight full contact rules. And for me, it was the most fun I'd had doing karate. I loved it. To come away as well, and to come away from it and getting paid to do it, that was also a nice experience and stuff. And I mean, it's not necessarily it's not going to be life-changing money, but it's enough to think, it's worth training up for. And to have that opportunity and have that platform, I think it's going to be really important for karatekas. And I mean, now there's obviously the Karate Combat is D1. That's the one where people need to be aiming for. But there's other full contact leagues that are popped up around for karate. So if you've got an older karateka and stuff who maybe wants to take that next challenge to push them to, it's not for everybody. I understand it's not for everybody, but if you do, They don't have to leave karate, because I think for a long time people felt that I want to go do full contact, they've got to box or they've got to do MMA. But I think to have that little stepping stone, you can do full contact karate. Now there's Karate Combat, there's other little organisations that have popped up here and there, and to have that, I think it's a great stepping stone for people in the martial arts who maybe want that next step, but don't have to leave karate. And I've loved it. And I mean, I watch all the different full contact leagues. I love watching MMA, and the Karate Combat for me, I think is brilliant. I love watching it, and I hope it continues to do well. And big respect for people who want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. With your own experience in the WKF 1 gala, have they incorporated hook punches, or is it the same kind of karate rules that we'd know?
They've done a few more galas since then. I think the first one that I did was strictly points fighting, but it was full contact. So if you knocked him out, you had to win. So I don't think you was allowed hooks and uppercuts initially.
Yeah, but you could carry through your technique.
Yeah, for sure. As they've done more, I think everyone's kind of put their rules a bit more in line with the Karate Combat rules. So I think WKFs are very similar to the Karate Combat rules now, where it's continuous. And I think they are allowing some hook punches now, but I don't know if they're allowing uppercuts. I think there's a few different bodies, and they're all going to have slightly various rules. I personally like the Karate Combat, and I think all the other leagues should probably just use that as the uniform leagues, where they do allow hooks and uppercuts. But when I did it, I think it was mostly straight techniques, no kicks no kicks above the knee, but I think you allow calf kicks and kicks to the lower leg. Obviously, hooking. So it's pretty, still what you'd look at as still pretty similar to normal karate rules, but you're not going to get a warning for hitting too hard.
Bashing someone, which is always a nice feeling when you're on the giving end. And have you got any desires to pursue that again, the full contact side?
I was going to probably carry on. I've had a few offers and stuff, and I probably would do it if I had another offer to do a few other fights. I would look at doing it, but I've had a little bit of a break from competitions because we started a family last year. I got a baby. I got an 18-month.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That's a world changer.
It is, and that's kind of a little shift in your mindset to think, okay, am I going to go and put myself in the firing line for fighting when I've got a few other things that are sort of taking over my priority, and obviously my coaching and running the club in my focus, and obviously being a dad is now my top priority. And, that kind of shifts your mindset. So I wouldn't say no if there's a good opportunity. And my brother and I have been speaking to a few different people, and there's some different organisations that are looking at doing some events. So I wouldn't say no to doing another one, but it'd probably have to be the right one, and I need a bit of time to prepare and get up for it. So I've been enjoying dad life. Yeah,
I bet. And what goals have you got for your club or yourself coming up in the next year or two? Where's your focus?
Funny enough you say that, because I was going to speak to you about it, because we're looking at doing some online filming and stuff, because during the lockdowns, before we had the very first lockdown, I started filming our online syllabus and karate training stuff for our members in our club, like following our syllabus, that if we did go into a lockdown, our members would have some footage and some videos to follow. Now I know your Kumite coach app and stuff, which I've had a look, and I've got to say I love the quality that you guys have done things at. And when I'd done the lockdown, everything I did on my phone, I filmed everything, edited it on my phone, and fortunately, our members loved it, and it served a really good purpose through the lockdowns, that they had loads of footage, loads of stuff to train in. We started doing Zoom lessons, but my next goal for our club is to try and get a lot of our stuff on a online package to give them at-home learning to help with parents and stuff, and also delve into a bit more training and do some full contact competition training, sort of online seminars really. While my dad, he's 66 and stuff, and me and my brother are in our 30s, while we're still sort of can still do it all and train and that, we're looking at filming some stuff and giving our sort of style and take on it. So I'd like to get any advice and help over how you guys film drills would be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, no, we can definitely get into that after. One of the things I was going to mention is that, as you said, that was, I do jiu-jitsu as well, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That community is hugely into, online training to augment their dojo training.
Yeah.
Just from my own experience, I don't see that the karate body has, kind of shifted in the same way. Although for me, jiu-jitsu is a lot harder to, do online than karate.
Yeah, for sure.
But a lot of people out there studying, what do the top players do? What are the movements? And they're taking that learning, doing it with mates, training partners. But I think a lot of them are just taking that learning and then taking it back into the dojo, where they then apply it to their training. So I'm just interested in, I guess, your perspective on how you feel, that'll be received by the karate groups that you're going to work with or put this material out to.
I mean, my main priority initially is going to be to give our parents at home within our club just like an online syllabus, somewhere that they can find our stuff, and I just want to make it as accessible as possible for everybody. Because you got some working parents who can only get their child once a week. And I had one family who actually they couldn't get to any lessons when we started doing some outside stuff, and during the lockdowns when there was some sessions but not others, and we had some families who couldn't get their kid to any classes, but they just followed their online stuff. And I had one particular mum who was training their child at home, just following our videos, and she was listening to the Japanese that I was saying, calling it out herself. And when her child turned up to do her first grading, she hadn't done any lessons. She's brilliant. She's fantastic, and I have to take my hat off to her. So Kanisha and Nikki, if you're listening to this, big respect to you guys. That was really impressive, and that kind of showed me that, do you know what, this is going to be a useful tool for those parents. So that's my main priority. Obviously, the long term would be just trying to pass on a lot of the knowledge that my dad's built up, because he's been doing this a long time, and he's got a knack for just producing people and building good competitors, and just to maybe share his style and pass his knowledge, and just not let things be lost a little bit. And me and my brother have managed to learn a lot of stuff along with our other instructors, our senior instructors like Marco and Jason and Sean, are these people that have trained my dad a long time, and obviously Trisha, together trying to work together, pass on some of his knowledge for the next generation, and also just give our style and our take on things in terms of bringing our style of karate into that full contact realm. And we've had a few people going in and jumping in and doing the full contact, and I've had a couple people from MMA have said, look, will you come and do striking seminars for us? And my brother's gone to some different MMA gyms to do striking seminars. I took on a client and been training him up for full contact. He won his first bout in full contact karate, and he's got a fight coming up in MMA in a few weeks' time. And I've been obviously just coming in as his striking coach, not as his MMA coach. He has people that does his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling. That's not my realm. I've only started jiu-jitsu in the last year or 9 months. I've been doing some lessons. So I've been dipping my toe in and stuff, and I do really enjoy it. But obviously that's in terms of, I may be a black belt on my feet, but I'm a white belt on the ground for now. So that would be what we're trying to do with the online stuff. Just pass on that knowledge. And give our take on what we're doing. And like you said, everyone does it different. And if we, people can take something from it, brilliant.
Yeah, I think if someone can get a blueprint of, like you said, how to build, a competitor, and get someone's experience of 40 years plus, on a format they can keep going back to and assessing their own coaching, I mean, that's only a good thing.
For sure.
Hey, Luke, look, we're out of time now, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you and talking to you and hearing your story. I'd love to get you back on in the future and find out what you've been up to. So thanks for joining us today. It's been great.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate.